Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bring you guys another review for One Piece chapter 1045. And I gotta say, man, I went back and I did all this rereading, and then when I open up the chapter, one of the first things that gets confirmed is yeah, so this is the awakening of your Paramethea powers. And I'm going, god damn it. I went back and I panicked and I reread all the chapters thinking hey, maybe I missed something. Maybe Luffy's gum gum fruit was called the zone fruit after all. And that's not the case. And Kaidou even says it, which is reason 102. I'm gonna say Shanks is sus now. I have 101 reasons just from the last chapter, and this just adds more onto it. Well, essentially, you have Kaidou saying, I thought that you were dead. I was absolutely certain of it. And Luffy just starts laughing. He's like, yeah, me too. And when Kaidou's talking to him, he's like, this has to be the awakening of your Paramethea powers, but this doesn't add up. That's a trademark of zone powers. And Luffy is just sitting back with his hands behind his head like it's absolutely nothing. He gets eaten by Kaidou, and at first I'm going, okay, Luffy, you big dummy. However, as Luffy is inside of Kaidou, all of a sudden you just start seeing what appears to be Luffy moving through Kaidou's body like a pinball, and he gets to the middle of Kaidou's body, and all of a sudden he says, gum gum balloon, and Kaidou's body begins to start floating, and you see this goofy look on Kaidou's face. You can tell he's in pain, but he's drawn in a goofy way, and Yamato right now is making the same face that I was, what in the hell is going on right now? And you see Kaidou and Luffy, and they're being raised higher and higher up into the sky, and Yamato's like, was this always one of my father's forms? And Kaidou says, my body wasn't made out of rubber. And all of a sudden, we see Luffy. It appears that he's actually popping out of Kaidou's eyes, and he's grabbing hold of his nose because he's going oh, I see two lights. And he says, gum gum escape rocket. And he just barrels himself out of Kaidou's mouth, and Luffy's just grinning the whole time. And it appears as if Luffy also has the ability to fly in this. Dude, this is broken. And you can see why the world government, the elders yeah, this is gonna be a problem right here. We need to make sure that Luffy gets taken out. Luffy has to die. Now we see why, because this level of flexibility in a battle makes Luffy damn near impossible to beat. It's really hard to see a scenario where Luffy could actually lose a fight. And as I'm starting to get drunk on the hype and seeing what Luffy's doing, Luffy ends up becoming a giant. He uses the Gum Gum Giant, and all of a sudden he's descending from the sky, and he's big enough that when he goes to step on Kaidou, he looks like he can legitimately squash Kaidou. And we get more of the goofy panels where Luffy is making exaggerated faces, and he grabs hold of Kaidou from both ends, and he just starts using him like a jump rope. This is such a playground power. I love it. This is so wonky. This is really good. Again, the battle before this was super serious, and this is such a subversion of expectations. When you look at how Oda debuted Gear 4 when you were seeing the Doflamingo fight, you were thinking oh, okay, this is so over the top right here, but there was a level of ferociousness with this. Oda's managed to capture that same level of ferociousness while also capturing the true heart of Luffy, which is that Luffy's at the end of the day just a really big kid. Luffy is having the time of his life while he's fighting, and this is so fascinating to me to actually read this. And so when Kaidou tries to use the breath blast on him because Luffy's doing the jump rope, which is actually really smart by Kaidou. That was really quick thinking. You have this moment where Luffy makes a face and he takes the full brunt of the attack. And after Luffy flips around, all of a sudden he's spinning his legs so fast that he's actually setting part of the air on fire, and he's racing towards Kaidou, and he's spinning his arm in a circle. And you can tell that Luffy's getting ready to deliver a huge hit. Then all of a sudden, you see Luffy's face just pop down, and he starts trolling the people on the bottom of Kaidou's hideout. And you see the exaggerated faces where everyone's oh my god, what in the hell is going on here? And so when Luffy ends up falling down, Kaidou says this is something out of a comic strip. And in this moment, this has to be Oda fully aware of what he's doing, because you don't write Kaidou saying something like that unless this was intentional, because this is basically confirming this is Toon Powers. This is some Bugs Bunny level shit right here. I'm not mad at it. I enjoy it. It's just, it just really threw me off at first. But I mean, I'm getting into the fight because like Luffy was dogging him out for a second. And what I like about this is that when Kaido says this was a very entertaining show, but you've appeared to reach your limit, you can't defeat me. Luffy tells him to shut up, and you see Luffy beginning to fall out of that Gear 5 transformation. He's like, I'm completely tuckered out right now. And when Kaido says like, man, I am giving you my assurances that you're going to die, and after you die, people are going to tell the great tale of your battle. Luffy's like, man, this takes a lot of energy, but here's the thing. Once you're dead, only thing that's left behind is your bones. I don't need any of that stuff right there. And you have Yamato and Momo starting to weigh in and give commentary. And in particular, you have Luffy saying, I can't die yet. And you see Luffy starting to name off the names of people in Wano that he has his debts to. And you have a moment where Luffy says, you think I'm really afraid of dying? And Luffy's telling his heart, go ahead and hit that beat. So what I like about this is that it becomes one of those moments where you can tell Luffy's timing his attacks with the beat of his heart. And what's interesting about this is that Luffy's heart appears to be beating in a different way. It's almost if, like, again, it's exactly what the guys from the world government are saying, that this devil fruit just defies the laws of nature itself. It adapts in ways that it shouldn't. And when Kaido tries to get that sneak attack on Luffy, Luffy just alters his body. You get another outlandish panel, and it's so over the top that you see Yamato absolutely freaking out. Kaido tries to get another hit in on him. Luffy gets sent flying. Then Luffy all of a sudden starts twisting around, and Luffy comes all the way back and starts swinging on the attacks, and he just sends Kaido barreling, and he hits this dude so hard that Kaido's face just caves in, and Luffy knocks him on his ass. And you have this moment where Luffy says, hey Kaido, this is pretty fun, isn't it? And the chapter ends off right there. This is one of those times where, God dog, like, I'm genuinely looking at Luffy saying, because of where he is right now, and because of how his abilities work, he might mess around and be one of the most broken shonen characters we have, because you have gag level powers, and this feels like gag level stuff. Like, if you told me Luffy beat Arale, I wouldn't be shocked right now. And Arale from Dr. Strunk and Arale from Dr. Slump is really, really strong. Like Kaido was talking about it here. He's like, he uses the colorment of armament. He's using the Supreme King Haki. He can transfer his powers to other things. I've never seen anything like this. And the way that Luffy's fighting is unlike any way we've seen Luffy fight before. This is broken, man. And that's actually going to bring me to my chapter question, you guys, which is, how strong would you say Luffy is right now? Like, in terms of other shonen characters, like, is this like Saitama level broken? Is this Arale level broken? Like, I know that Oda took a lot of inspiration from Dragon Ball. I've read interviews where he said as much. There was an interview where he was talking with Masashi Kishimoto, and he talked about how Dragon Ball had an influence on him. And Toriyama started out as a gag writer. So I'm pretty sure, just based off of how big Dr. Slump was, that Oda would be aware of it. This feels like I'm watching something from Dr. Slump, just on a bigger scale. However, again, that's me, my chapter question. Let me know where you guys will put Luffy down below. So always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Have an awesome day, guys.